Hello everyone and welcome back to the 18th part of the course in which we'll be making the Blade of the Ancients from scratch using Blender. In the last video, we refined our handle retopology and today we'll begin the retopology on our ornament and this should be pretty simple and straightforward. So I promise you today we are going to do the whole retopology and then we'll finally be done. But stay tuned, because we will be doing the next process called unwrapping. So let me explain it to you a bit. Unwrapping is basically a step in which we take our 3D model, which exists in a 3D space, we can rotate around it, and then we cut its geometry. Like that geometry, we just lay it on a 2D image. Think of it like cutting a cylinder. If you cut a cylinder on its side, you get a flat plane which then you straighten on a desk or something. So we want to make this geometry 2D by just cutting it. And we do that so we don't get stretching textures on our mesh, and it helps our softwares, Blender, Maya, any software, know how to place textures. It is very important. And this is the same term as UV editing. Unwrapping, UV editing, if you see those terms anywhere, is basically the same thing over and over. Okay, now without further ado, let's just hide the handle in plane and then let's just retopologize this. And we wouldn't be using the same plane we used for the handle, we'll be using a separate one, so let me just apply transforms on this one. Now, you know what to do. Shift A, we add a plane. Bring it up. Oh, you can see it's already snapping. So, one thing is good. We make it smaller. We add a modifier, mirror. Put it like this, but we want it mirrored on the y-axis. Like this. And we want a shrink warp modifier. We want to put it above surface and then we want to select the ornament. Then we want to select the plane, go to edit mode, and we begin the process. Or because we cannot see a thing, we want to go to the object properties, super display, and I will put it in front. Let's give it a different color, like green. Ooh, that's a bit too bright, like something like this. Yes. And here I would not worry about the geometry flow as much because all of these are surface detail. So I just make like a certain size. I will try to make like a quad. It is probably the similar size. And then I will extrude it like once, 2 times, 3 times. Oh yes, we need to enable clipping on our mirror. Hope you can follow along. So extrude it on 1, 2, 3. Let's do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And now the good part is about this object is I can select the whole loop cut here and just extrude 2 times. We'll worry about snapping it later. Now let's just extrude it a bunch of times. Make this one smaller with S. Okay. Let's do it here also. Try to make it a similar size because if they are over the same distance, we can easily add more loop cuts without getting some quads that are bigger than the other. And this should be fine. Okay, now let's select this cut here. You see, it's been like a few minutes and we're already almost done. I told you this is going to be easy. this, and this. Conform these ones. This. And we are going to be needing more geometry than this, obviously. What happened here? You're going zigzagging. Why do you zigzag? Okay, this is a zigzag loop cut here. Now it's not zigzagging longer. It's good. This part's fine. You are floating a bit. This is not good. And you are also floating. You don't have wings, you cannot fly. But everything is possible, they say. Like this. Form these ones. Now we can tweak it a bit. For example, this, I want them to be closer. We can use our edit tools here. Let me try just selecting a cut from here to here. And relax. Yes, relax works good. Let's do the same thing here. Select the loop cut, relax. This one, relax. It's like this for relax. They should just call it a chill button, like you just grab a vertex and you tell it to chill. Relax. And we should just relax this part here. And then bring it a bit closer. Yes, I'll bring this part here. Let me just also relax these ones. Let's conform them separately so we don't mess something up. Okay, it's fine now. We need to make sure these parts up here are fine. No, 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 no. Not you, you. Okay, let's now see if we can just merge these ones like this. Yes, we should have enough. And then you see these two, we can do something like this. Okay. Yes, now we have triangles here, but it also gives us the shape we want, so maybe let's add another loop cut here. And this can happen, yes. If you see this, you selected the mesh underneath it, and I like to go to the object mode, select our plane again, and go back to the edit mode. Because it will keep selecting it. Let's now go here. I think we could extrude once more. Scale it down and just conform it like this. Oh, and we should need to disable the clipping button like this because this vertex belongs here. Now let's enable clipping. Clip this one. Let's do the same thing. So merge these two. Fill these two. Nope, I filled it with the wrong one. The other thing I like also is that by shading, you can see if your normals are flipped or if you have selected the vertex like behind, just like I did. You can see that something is quite wrong. Okay, now it's like this. Then, okay, use my knife tool. Pretty handy. Alright. So we can add more cuts on two ways. We can go manually and add them, or we can use a subdivision surface modifier. It's simple. And by increasing it, we can see how much res we will get. Unfortunately, as you can see down here, it does not display how many vertices we are getting by using this subdivision modifier, because it still represents the mesh like these are the vertex. So I will not save, but I will do, for example, 2, then get out of edit mode with tab. I will move the subdivision modifier up top, because when you're applying modifiers, you want to apply first the modifiers that are above, then the modifiers below, because some of them will not work that way. We can actually see, in object mode, we can see how many vertices we have. So if we hide the ornaments, we can do this. We can see now we have 4K vertices. 1000 should be ideal, but since we're not going to be using this in an animation or game, we can afford having 4000. So let me just unhide my ornaments. And I think I will do this. So now we'll apply it. And when I go to the edit mode, you can see it looks like this. So we can either wave it or just grab our deselection and conform some of the parts like this. Because there is no way you can just individually tweak this part. It's like, see again, see again. Yes, I see again. That's a pun. Oh, here we have a bit more vertices. I tell you, one loop cut can make a huge difference. Oh, no, no, no. And you can see here, we have an intersecting vertex. We have to make sure that this doesn't happen again. These parts here, G to confirm. And then you click away on the screen. Yes, we want to deselect these ones. So you select it by holding shift and then click dragging. You deselect the vertices. See, we deselect these ones. No. We can manually tweak these ones, and they seem to be misbehaving. No, you're not going to go there. Okay, let me select, when you select the X-ray, now we can get this little one and drag it where it belongs. You can see they're hiding from me. Just a little more, and we should be done. Yes, this is it. Now let me just re-enable our plane and then our blade. So our blade has like 30k vertices. And what we can do is we can just remove this subdivision modifier all along. Let me just disable the ornament, yes. And now what we have, we have about 15,000 triangles and 7k faces, which is ideal. What you want to do is now you want to apply all the modifiers. So you can just go here, select the mirror, apply, shrink wrap, apply. Do the same thing for our ornaments. Then we want to rename the ornaments. So the ones that are like planes, the topology, we'll just give them the same name, but have like a prefix or suffix low. So we want to be like ornament. You can use whatever you want. You can just space, or I will use this down key, low. And then the original one, we'll just add something like high. So high poly and low poly. This will be handle low. And you'll see later why we are naming things. It is important, really it is. High. I'll make this blade low. Then what we'll do is duplicate the same blade. Call it blade high. And what we can do is add a subdivision modifier and then increase it to like 3. Apply the subdivision, and now we have a high poly of that same mesh. Now let's just make another collection. So we have a sword mesh. I'll do the same thing. High. And then let me just copy this and just change this into low. Now we can transfer those things by selecting the low polys and then pressing M. M just gives you the option to move, so let's just move it to mesh low. And now we have what you want. A colorful blade and a blade. So now let's get into unwrapping process. So now we want to deselect our high poly, just keeping our low poly, and we can go up here into the UV editing tab. As I told you, the unwrapping is basically UV editing. Now we are brought into this mode, so we want to go to the object mode, and let's start by unwrapping the ornament, since it is like the best result to showcase this. We want to go to the edit mode. And we also need this tab here. So now what you do here is you just make a picture on which you will put your pieces you cut. So now you want to click on new. We'll call it the ornament unwrap. Or this is the part where you have to decide. So the thing is, if you unwrap the whole blade on a single picture, the resolution will be a bit lower, but your model will be optimized. It will have a single texture, other words, a single normal map, single metallic roughness and base color, which is always optimal for games and other stuff. Or if you have like an object which consists of multiple objects, you can choose to have multiple UV unwraps, other words, multiple normal maps, base colors, metallics, and roughness. It will be a bit harder to plug in and to manage, since we can do it all by laying it on a single plane. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to unwrap the whole blade on a single image. Let me just press this key so we go into this mode. And now when I select the mesh, you can see this is our UV unwrap. Now what we can do is create a new, let's name it blade unwrap, and here we have the resolution. It's set to 1K, but the optimal is either 2K, and you select it to 2K by dragging and selecting these two. Now what you can do is just add a star to enter, and it automatically put it to 2K. Or you can do the same by selecting this button 2, and it will divide it by 2. I will make this blade 4K, so I will just double it by 4. English ain't my native language, so yes, multiply and divide. If you're a math person, you want to, everything's fine, so you want to disable the 32-bit float, leave it at blank, alpha, okay. And seemingly nothing happened, but it did. This is a bigger texture now. So what you want to do, let's select a loop cut that goes right into middle. Once you've done, you want to press U. We get this new menu here. Now the only two options you need are the unwrap option and the mark seam and clear seam option. So first, you want to mark a seam. Other words, it's like basically you draw a line where you want your mesh to be cutted. To mark seam, like this. Then with A or L, you select the object, press U, and click unwrap. Here you can see now we have got two identical parts. And our mesh is now 2D. You can see no longer has any trouble. And this should be like the perfect unwrap because this is a perfect scenario. Two parts. You want to have as least amount of islands. These parts here are called islands. Now we have two of them. The less islands you have, the better it is, because you can utilize more space. Okay, now let's just go to the object mode, select the blade. We can select all of them, why not? So now all of them are on the same plane, you can see. Now let's select the handle. We can just select this one. We can hide them, and then let's just unwrap this. So it should be pretty simple. We want to cut it like here. And if you're wondering about the cut placement, look at it this way. The seams we do, otherwise the lines we make, are going to be visible. And the textures are just going to cover it, but not always. So wherever you make a cut, you're going to see an obvious line in your texture. So you want to place them in places where you're not going to see them. For example, if you have a human, you want a loop cut behind the ears or in the hair. You don't want it directly in the middle of the face. You don't want to split the nose into pieces. Let's just select these. We want to make sure everything is selected. Let me just zoom in here. Deselect these stray vertices. Everything should be selected. Now I want to press U, mark seam. Then we can select it, U, and unwrap. And now this is what we are going to get. And we want to minimize stretching. So you can see stretching if you go up here, scroll to these points. So click on this. And here under UV editing, you have display stretch. If I enable that, so the blue color, the ID blue is optimal. We also have this light blue, which is also fine. And then you have green, orange, and red, which you should avoid. So if you have sort things, you can tweak the UVs here until it is fine, or just add more loop cuts and unwrap it better. I'm pretty surprised to see that this is amazing. So there is no stretching and we have minimal islands. This is just going to be perfect. This is why retopology matters. The similar size, vertices and everything. Amazing. Now let's just move on to the blade. So, well, we can select everything, edit mode, Alt H to unhide it. Do not worry because the faces are now overlapping. We will fix that later. Because your vertices should not share the same space. Okay? Here we have, let me see. I think we have like 2, yes. We can select, I'll select this one behind. It selects it until here, doesn't it? And just move closer. Turn it around. Like this part. Copy selected everything. And now we need to, I will hide the handle and ornaments. As we need to select a few more. For example, this one, this, and this one. Do not worry because these faces are selected. Now let me just go U, mark seam, L, U, unwrap. We can see here, this is not where we want our seams. So what we can do is select those 2 vertices from which we want to remove our seams, press U, and go to the clear seam option. A great way for me to showcase you that. Let's just L, U, unwrap. We have some stretching here. Maybe we can fix that by adding a look at here. So let's just add a seam. We LU unwrap. And you can see that it does it. So let me do the same thing here. This is not going to be seen. Let's just mark a seam. L U unwrap. It still has some stretching. Can I fix something here? Let me see. Maybe if we do this, I mean, this stretching is not a huge problem. But let me see if we can minimize it. So here you can see we have an island. And this is bad. So we do not want to add another island. Let me just clear the seam from these 2. What you can also do if something is weird here, you do not know how to fix it, you can just try merging all your vertices at the center. Sometimes that means that you have double vertices and the unwrap doesn't go as planned. Now this is fine, so let me just L U unwrap, and this is it. Okay. Now let's unhide our other objects. Select them all. Now follow carefully. Select all of your objects. U unwrap. Now they're located here, but this is not the scale we want. So under the UV tab up here, I want to click on it, and we have 2 options that we're going to use. Ignore this because this is an add-on, which we currently do not need. We want to average island scales, and then after you do that, you want to click on pack islands. So pack islands. But you want to have these selected as well. So a here, UV, average island scales, pack islands. Interesting, we have a hole here. Oh, so it moved this part here all the way here. What we can try to do is we can select this part here, and we can move it back. It looks something like this. And we can also merge these vertices together. And it should not affect our geometry at all. This is just the thing on the vertices. You know, I'm glad I get this type of things when I'm recording so I can show you the easy way to fix it. This should be fine. We also have this part here, and if you want to find out which vertex is that, you have this icon here, UV sync selection. So when I enable it, by selecting this part, we should be able to see where that is on the mesh. So we can see that is the part up here. What happened to you? You was merged by distance? No? So this part just seems to have wandered off. So let me just select it. The only bad thing about this mode is because it selects some of the vertices that are close to it. So once you select this, you can deselect like here. Select it here or in this tab. And then you can just move it blindly, enable, and see where it is coming from. We want this part to be here, okay. It's basically like here. Let me hide it. Yes, this is one way of doing it. And then let's just enable it. Okay. Okay, so you want this flipped. You want it flipped, like this. Because we are selecting like the opposite vertices. Okay. This is fine. Let's just merge at cursor. Merge at cursor. Cursor. Once again. I move the cursor by, so click and shift, and then we right click the vertices, merge the cursor. It turns out that I just merged the vertices down here with the ones up here, and that was causing the issue. But now it's almost fixed. So let me just disable this. What you can do is, for example, select the whole thing here, disable this, move it like this until it's blue, and now it is fine. This part here, we'll just leave it in an empty space, since when you do not know where it belongs. And we also want to tweak this. So these two parts, oh, this is a part of this. This also isn't merged, as you can see. When I select it, no, it is fine, okay, it's fine. So let me just disable this. Let's select these two parts here, and I will actually scale them down because they do not need to grab this whole texture space. We also need to stitch this one as well. Okay, we are going to select all of them and scale them down like this. Let's move them up here because we want our handle to have the biggest UV space. You can see our handle is here. Let's move it. What we can do is select one part here. You can see those two are connected, which means they are not cut somewhere. So let me just disable the ornament, disable the blade. There is, as I can tell you, probably a spot where they're not cut. Let me just merge it by distance. It's probably here somewhere. Or they are just intersecting like this. So when I select the one part, I select the other. One thing you can do is up here, press L. Then along here, you have the select linked. You want to click on seam. Okay, now that it is moved here, this is here. We'll tweak it a bit more in the next episode. Hope you learned something new. Feel free to subscribe, share, like. I really appreciate it. And see you in the next one. Bye bye.